Welcome back to the arena. So, we're back really quickly, and there's a new deck idea that I want to spin off of the previous ideas because I had more aggressive ideas in my mind, but there's also the control side of artifacts as well. I want to say, hey, what if we just went all in on the early aggression and unblockability that we can get from artifacts? And that's what I built here. So, we're starting on the lower end of the curve with some creatures that have evasion: Fugitive Droid, Ginger Brute, Gleaming Gear Drake, and Cryptic Coat. So they all have some way to get unblockable in one way or another. Fugitive Droid can become unblockable when an artifact enters, not just cast. Ginger Brute can be unblockable if you pay 1, and the opponent doesn't have any haste creatures. Gear Drake has flying, so it can get over if the opponent doesn't have flying creatures. And Cryptic Coat is just unblockable. It costs more though, and you can repeat the ability to cloak from the top card of your library. And if you happen to cloak a creature, there could be some benefits that grow from that as well. So, for example, if you coat and it's a Gear Drake, you play 2, and all your sacrifices make this an unblockable, true unblockable that can grow, and other things as well. So, it's a good early engine, but how we get some more creatures in play? Ravenous Robots and Pinnacle Emissary. So, Pinnacle Emissary is a card that's been around for a couple sets. When you cast artifact spells, you get 1/1 drones that fly but can't block. Ravenous Robots, our newest card, is a card that when you cast an artifact spell, same trigger as Emissary, you create a 1/1 colorless robot artifact creature token that can block. So they have slightly different uses, and on a turn where you're popping off with Emissary and or robots, you can pay just 1 red and tap it to make them all have haste. So you can depend on one big swing turn, well, one big mini swing turn when you have these in play. To bolster that, we have Dowsing Device and Improvised Arsenal that boost your attack based on the number of artifacts we control. Both sorcery speed equips or activations, but they can get through, especially on unblockable or evasive creatures. So Dowsing Device, when you play it, or when another artifact enters, you can give a creature +1 attack and haste for that turn. And when you have 4 triggers of this, or you have four more artifacts, it transforms into a land, so it's pseudo ramp. And you can pay 3 and make any creature get the ability of having plus attack equal to the number of artifacts you control. So it's a repeatable, send your little dumb token in for a big attack, and they have to block as long as your board is wide enough. Similar with Improvised Arsenal. It's a straight up equipment that costs 2, equips for 1, and gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. So basically this is a permanent version of 1 trigger of Grotto that gets cheaper each time after that to only 1 cost versus 3. And then on top of the curve here for creatures, Memory Guardian. It's just a creature that has affinity for artifacts. So as you pop off with these smaller artifacts, your Memory Guardian becomes quickly a 1 mana 3/4 flyer. That's pretty decent stats for just a 1 mana creature. So to support that, we have a number of creatures in the deck. Springleaf Drum should be good. It is an artifact that triggers our other synergies. And then Demand Answers also factors in. It's card draw that lets us either, when our board is empty, discard a card to cast it, or we sacrifice one of the many tokens that we have on the board eventually, and then we draw, and we do that, and we can draw 2 cards at instant speed. So it gives us some way to get through the deck a little bit more. There's a consideration of, do we want more Demand Answers in place of something? We don't know. Maybe some more testing will reveal that to us. And then last, we have a smaller interaction suite. We kind of want to have interaction with key things in game 1, and then lean more into what kind of interaction we need post board. So we start off with a couple snares for the early game and Torch to Tower for the early game that we can bargain to make even bigger and get rid of some things with exile as well. So that is the deck. It's just get a bunch of little things on the board. Some of them are unblockable, and sometimes you can make them really big swingers. So that's the deck. And the only curious thing about the mana base is that Secluded Starforge is a 1-up in the mana base. So this is a card that I don't think I've seen anyone actually use in a real deck, but it is a colorless land. You can pay 2 and tap X untapped artifact you control to get the same attack buff as an Improvised Arsenal or Dowsing Device, but it's from a land. But you have to tap other artifacts that you have to get the effect. So it's still works in the same way, but it may require you to go defenses down to get the effect you want. So it's more of a use it if you have to. It might get you a win, but it's just available. But also, it has a more expensive activation where you can start pumping out creatures for 5 mana each turn. So in the case where you're just drawing land, Power Forge can give you stuff on the board that are artifacts and fuel itself. So that's the full main deck. Let's take a look at the sideboard. So in the sideboard, it's looking a bunch at the metagame, countering some enchantments, spell piercing some spells. Soul Guide Lantern in a 3 of because it already synergizes with playing artifacts, so it doesn't hurt to have more, and they just cantrip away when you don't need them. I'll skip these for now. So Seer, some instant interaction, 4 damage to a target creature or planeswalker, good for Kaido. Ice Out, straight up counterspell, especially in our deck with a bunch of things to bargain. 4 for 3 when you just need it. And Broadside Barrage, 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker, draw a card, then discard a card. So in the current standard card set, red and 5 damage is a hard barrier to get to, unless you're splashing for blue or you're playing more specific or more strict cards like Witchstalker's Frenzy or the Dragon that can deal 5 to only ground creatures. So bigger damage in these 2 colors is kind of hard to go by. So at least 1 barrage in the board is helpful here. So the other 5 cards though, hear me out, it's a combo switch out. So in the cases where the opponent would be weak to a combo play, we do a sort of a soft transformation into mill. With our unblockable creatures, we can sneak out Kitsune's Technique for 2 as early as turn 2. Mill half the library right away. We have 2 copies of that, and then Monument will finish off the job. You can pay 4 mana and mill cards equal to the number of cards in your graveyard. If you've already milled half their deck, the remaining half of their deck will be milled away. So it's just a combo that you can slot in with, hey, there should be a window here where we can get this off. We're pretty sure we can get in for 1 swing and then get them out of here because they don't have the kind of interaction necessary for these cards. So it's cute, but maybe it'll work. Who knows? But this is the first version of this deck I've built. First time I'm going to try to run it. Let's see how it works in a couple of games. All right, here we are in our first match with Barn Dune, the Brilliant. So decent mana to start. No 1 mana play is concerning, and we're going second. I don't like that. We do have our engine for getting a bunch of small things in play. For a game 1, let's just see how this works. But I think you should be more stringent on trying to find one of the 1-drops. But let's see how this goes, because we have our correct mana distribution already. All right, drew a land, so let's just play a tapped Fence and pass. The opponent is playing planes, 2 planes to be effect. So this is the enchantment deck. So they interact very lightly. They have Sheltered by Ghost, and that's most of it. So I think we have to worry about the next 2 turns specifically. They usually keep a hand with Sheltered by Ghost, and they keep the full 7. I think because the Aerialist will start flying, let's start with the Gear Drake. This will mean we can get some interaction out of their hand, and we can use Emissary to get continuous flying blockers into play. All right, it went with the Weaver, and they're going to rip the Gear Drake. Okay, so that's the interaction there. Guardian's cost goes back up, and they swing in for 2. So let's play our Mountain. So what's the best play here? I think it is Emissary into Robots, so that we have the flying blocker in case. So we have an engine in play and an engine in the warp zone, and a Memory Guardian is already only costing 2. If at any point we can get an Emissary out and a bunch of flying blockers in the way, that'd be fantastic. Swinging in. Do we want to try to kill the 2/1? Or let's save ourselves some damage here instead. Give us one more damage. They're high in the most helpful weavers. There's not many enchantment synergies going on. Alright, so Starforge. Let's get another flying blocker into play by getting one on the ground, and then playing this Guardian will actually get us 2 flying blockers and more ground support. Not gonna swing in quite yet. Something will get double strike. So it has Menace and Trample. We do have 2 blockers for the Demonic Ruckus. And then they waited on the Shelter by Ghost. All right. All right, so taking 12, and they gain 12 here. Not the best, but we can start pumping out more and more blockers here. The trample is also not great for us. So, I don't think there's a way to get a lot of damage through. We can try to gain some life with the Gender Brute. I guess playing the most artifacts we can is what's great here. So Gear Drake. And then Arsenal. So let's attack on the ground with these 2. So we need to start getting damage in. If they double block the Emissary, that's fine. I think. Is that fine? Let's just try to get in for 2. Oh, I forgot the second Weaver. Okay, that's actually just dead. So they are a more aggressive version of the enchantments deck. So we definitely want to null for key ones. We want Seer. So we want interaction with them. What do we take out that isn't as interactive? So Cryptic Coat doesn't really block. It's a little slower. So we cut 1. Do we cut 2? I'm not sure. We do need to get them dead, but removing the creatures early really means we don't have to worry as much in general. And yeah, I don't think you need the unblockability so much as the removal. We've had Null, Seer, Barrage, and then we have the Torch the Towers. Need to get rid of 2 more. What is less useful here? Drum is good early, so we can start powering out earlier. I think we drop 1 Arsenal, because we do need more blockers than that, and 1 Drum, so we at least have access to 1. Yeah, the problem was we didn't get any of our interaction early, and that was another issue of considering in the metagame, it is often an interaction check early. Like for this hand, this looks great, but we kind of want to see at least 1 piece of interaction, even on the aggressive side. But then again, this is pretty good as aggression. I think I like putting them on the back foot. So let's Purifier, fly in for 1, and then we can Emissary Droid on 2. Alright, so now they're on the interaction. We play Island, we Emissary, we Droid. Next turn we can play the full cost of Emissary if we want, depending on what they do. Aerialist, alright. So Spire Buff Canal. Let's go ahead and Emissary. Swing in. because we want them under pressure now. Next turn, we might be able to Emissary and leave up Spell Snare. Alright, so they're Helix. Swinging for 2. Alright. Demand Answers. That is the base 2 cost, so we can counter that. Starforge. Play an Emissary. If we 1 cost the Emissary, Guardian only costs 2. And we get more blockers. I think we still keep stuff up. So let's try that. That gives us some blockers on either side. Bop bop. That still gives us an artifact to play next turn. I think FOMO's fine. We just don't want them getting in on us easily. Second Ruckus. Alright, so Ravenous Robots is interesting here. Let's get a bigger body down though. Swing in. We want to be pressuring them. Okay, swing in. We don't care if you swing in. Alright. So we can get in for 1. We can shock in. We can get in for, well, not that. If we do this, and then we shock this in. We can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Get in for 6. Or get in for 7. Yep. So putting them under the gun saved us some of their damage there and got us the win there. So now they're going to be on the first play. Now, how do we deal with what they're putting out? We put the interaction in. That's still what we want. I don't know if Ice Out... How key are the plays? I mean, Ruckus is a key counter. Weaver is a little slow, but can be key. We really just want the removal. Maybe even a Pierce is fine. Is Pierce better than any of these cards, though? Is Pierce better than a Droid, a Snare? No. Because that Snare was key in us living in there in that game as well. Let's drop the Drum, because they do play tight mana and Pierce should find value. There's a question there if we do bring in Ice Out as well. It's a little slow for the matchup, but mana wise it doesn't trade very well. I mean, this isn't the best, but I like being able to remove their first 2 plays. I can't remove it if it's a 2/2 because it has Ward. Yeah, that's the question. I only have 20 lands, and I really need that second land with this hand. And I would need 2 more lands to be able to kill the flyer. Ooh, even though I like being able to interact with this. Yeah, let's mulligan. Alright, this is better. Snare, Drake, Emissary. If this was a 7, if this was a 7-card hand, I would love this. But it is only 6 because we have Engine, we have Payoff, we have Flyer, we have 2 pieces of interaction. So let's keep 6 and let's put Guardian away. Yeah, let's put Guardian away. Alright, tap red card. Pass. There's the Weaver. Burn Hilder. I don't mind that. If I can kill that on my turn and still keep the blue up. And the next turn I can Emissary into Clear Drake. Alright, so they're keeping interaction up, it looks like. So, Island, Emissary. There was no stop there. Alright, so they have something to react to that. I get the Manifest Dread. Ah. Oh, later first mana cost. Did you get Affinity on the mana cost too? This is a tough question. Because the flying is nice. Let's... That is a question. Let's do that. It's a bigger creature. And with these artifacts in play. Oh. They realized that I probably had a good result from that. Look at that. We beat a really aggressive deck game 1. Let's do one more. Let's see how it goes. All right, so good hand keep. I mean, what else can you say? Turn 1, turn 2, maybe even turn 3 with a snare on the back. Count me in. Lanes to start off with the opponent. Leaving the white open. There's Canal, Brute. Swinging for 1. We have 2 snares now. Seam Rip. Pre-land play. Don't tell me they kept a 1-lander. Alright, so this might be control. Let's shock in a Drake. And that gives us a target for demand answers if we need it. Another Rip. So I think they're depending on being able to reload. Alright. Fountain Port. Alright, so we really want to draw land there, but let's get some stuff on the board. Emissary. Fugitive Droid. Alright. I think they might be holding up stars here. Yep, consult the star charts. We'll love a land here so I can play Guardian and leave 1 up for Snare. For one of their cheaper counter spells. Not a land. So the question is, do we try to swing in Yeah, let's try to swing in. If we lose one of the creatures, we can demand answers in response, and that might get us a land to draw. Yep, that's the leave mana open, because we can snare if they try to consult again. There's only a 2-cost spell. Alright, they want a blocker on the ground that I'm often not going to care about because I play artifacts, but that's up to them. Committing to the board is a choice. I think we have to go shields down and cast this demand answers at the end of their turn, though. Should try to tax them out. The question is, does that let them consult? And it's a problem? And do we just depend on drawing the land? A lot of choices for this deck. If we demand answers, we can't play Memory Garden next turn. They're having a tough go of it too. Let's try to... Actually, let's not demand answers. Let's just try to draw a card. Because if they counter demand answers, that is a blowout. Yeah, there was a land on top. Nice. Alright, so that's that. Do we try to just let the droid get in? Let's swing with the flyer. So, we don't want them to just sit there and dirtle and draw off that fish. Let's Emissary. And then try the Memory Guardian. Alright, there's the counter spell. Alright. So yeah, against a control deck, you don't want to give them that gap where they can say, oh, I can just draw cards here. Elspeth, alright. I could not have done anything about that cast. Play an artifact I can get in for 3 on Elspeth. Ravenous Robots. Alright, so we can play Pinnacle Emissary. Try to get in for more damage. If they try to go for killing us, I think we need to kill them, because if they make flying blockers next turn, I can't get in again, but they can do that either way. So let's just try to be aggressive, and we can try to get in with one of our artifact buffing cards. Our game plan was kind of stymied by the lack of land draws there, in that we could have handled the Normalize and technically the Star Charts. Star Charts with different choices, but definitely the Normalize. But in a 20 land deck, you can only depend so much on getting drops. Alright, they gave up on the board. Alright, so now Elspeth is safe to use the -3. Alright, so we drew the land. Let's shock that in and play Coat as an unblockable threat. I can look at it. It's a Ginger Brute. I could give it haste and get in for 2, but I don't think so. So basically, this is something that they have to answer. Technically, unless they start to get aggressive. And if they want to race, then the race is on. It's a long 4-turn clock, but there are draws that make that clock way faster. Especially because we have Starforge, we can start buffing based on the number of artifacts. Stock up, good to go. And I forgot the fact that this gives you Ward 2. That is nice. I didn't even consider that was that good. Elspeth could kill the coat if she wanted to. But that means not making creatures or making them bigger. Chose not to. Seems like they want to go on the aggression next turn. I would love a small artifact here next turn to try to build this out. That's a land, but we will start. Let's get robots into play, and that leaves demand answers up and the 2 snares. And as creature tokens come into play, it gets scarier for them because next turn I could give them all haste as they come in. Are they going to try to counter this? Oh, they're spell snaring. Fair. Let's get in. We are really eyeballing that cryptic coat. If they're trying to get in with a 2-turn clock with the flyers, that can work too. They swing in for 8 here, and then 8 next turn. That is me dying. Insult. No, thank you. That is a 2-cost spell, even if you kick it. Demo field, good for the Starforge if they're eyeballing that. Mm-hmm. Alright, so they're going the aggressive route, so we would need very specific draws. They know they can't block the creature that I have. I mean, you just attack, right? They are thinking hard about it. I don't really have like a way to clear out those 2/2s. So my next turn is my last turn to try to make something happen. Oh, they are really taking their time on just stepping through the turn. All right. So we got a torch. So torch can take care of one of the 2/2s. If they +1, let's start off with. I don't think I'm doing this. So let's start off with the demand answers. Discard a card. Because if we can get a second torch, we did not find one. We did find an arsenal though. That only adds two attack to the attack though. Because we can emissary for 1. And that gives us 1 flying blocker, which is equivalent to 1 torch. Not all that good. Yeah, that's not the best. I could get them to effectively 4. So I'm a 1 turn behind on what I needed to get through this in terms of damage. We answered their interaction relatively well, but they are taking their time. I mean, I don't think you needed to do that, but that definitely does it. I'm tapped out and you just +1 flying just those guys, and I can take 9 after blocking. So if that's the case for them, is this a situation where we go combo? Where we bring our monuments in, our ice outs to protect it, with our pierce, and then our techniques. And if we're going combo, we're bringing 3 artifacts in. We take out a drum. We take out torches. They're not the best here, until we're behind the gun, and then we're already in a spot we don't want to be. I think 1 drum is fine. 1 less arsenal. Keep the answers to find things. Coat, emissary. Down a coat. Down a guardian. We're not really that hyped about flying early. Droid is good to protect things. Droid is good to protect monument as well, if they have a direct artifact kill. And maybe, I mean, the haste from dowsing device is great. We don't want to go down on those. So maybe 1 less robots, or 1 less emissary, because they can't give himself haste. We go from there. So we still have our main game plan intact, but there's more cast level interaction. 1 land is good for a brute, but not for anything else. Let's mulligan. Vents drum is better though. Let's try that. And then we vents, and then we drum. And if we draw a land, it's fantastic, but we still get to droid on 2. Or actually, we can emissary into droid on 2. All right. Emissary. And it technically leaves ice out open if we leave a creature back and they don't interact here. Now they're back in the tank. Look for a seam rip. Yep. The drum is interesting. So they want the droid, alright. Let's get our robots out. Or do we demand answers and look for the land? We can demand answers and not sacrifice an artifact and we can just discard something. No, I think we need threats. So, robots. It was a risky keep, but we are already behind the gun on the matchup itself. So we had 2 mana in the hand and that still is in play. We had to work with that. Seam rip number 2. Alright, if they kill the 1/1, we only have 1 mana. Hey, we found a land. Alright. So now the issue is we need even more mana now. We can get him with the 1/1, or we can play Emissary. Let's actually... Let's try to get the Emissary out. Because again, we don't want them to take a chance to just try to draw a card here. Alright. 1 by 1 from the hand. There's also merit to just not playing anything and playing into the counterspell, but we need to make them, if they have it, they have it. We have to make them not have it one of these times. Try to get ahead. Alright, because they can always demolition fields the vents. We can go get an island. Alright, so let's try again. Actually, if they kept the board clear, that's great for them. But we're not doing anything that we want to do anyways there. Let's try the Emissary again. Down to 3 cards. They can kill Demolition Field because the Sunken Citadel taps for 2 for activated abilities. That's why they still have a stop here. Unless they have Get Lost in hand, but I think it's the Demolition Field that gave them a stop. We only have 2 blue if we have our drone up. Oh, now we do have 2 blue even with the drone attacks. So let's swing. They can block with the anchorage. I think we mined that actually. Let's wait, and we actually have a window to demand answers or ice out. If there's something that we want to do that for. They're gonna go for a refill here. They are. I do think we want to deny that. I don't think we want to sacrifice anything for it. They spend some mana here. They can't keep the anchorage up. I mean, they're still firmly ahead, but we needed to get a little bit lucky on the run here. Anchorage and then map on the anchorage. Is that their play? Definitely not going to block them. Are they mana starved? Is that really the core of it here? You find a fountain. Alright, so their shield's down. We didn't find anything nice, but let's demand answers on the discard a card. Draw 2. I think Arsenal gives us something here. It means that our creatures can get threatening over time. I anticipate another anchorage swing. No reason to board clear. There's the one that destroys all artifacts and creatures. That's an option. Alright, so they are going to go for the attack. And this leaves them blue up for like an essence scatter. Not enough for no moralize, but an essence scatter. Already used 2 though. Yep, using the colorless. So they're not keeping anything up again. They find another land. Anchorage comes in tapped in. Okay, so we have our Guardian now. We can play Guardian and leave up Ice out here. And I think that's what we're going to do. And now we can block the anchorage. I presume this is a good board clear moment for them. We happen to have the answer the one time for it, if that's what they go for. I wonder if they're on mobile, because this seems like there is a moment, like it's like a beat, and then they see what we're doing. All right, so they left 2 blue up. So let's bargain. Back that. Presume they have another normalize or like a negate in hand. We have to try here. It is countered. Is there a get lost in hand? not psychic, folks. It just things look like what they look like. So let's Ravenous Robots. Let's demand answers to land. Ew. Alright, but Canal comes and tap no matter what. Play that. We are yet another threat. It seems like they want to send in 2 Anchorage here, unless they just want to play some removal. Stock up, so not 2 Anchorage. Still enough for 1 Anchorage. Relatively quick selection on that, so I think they found something they liked. Alright, let's see what we draw. Kitsune's technique. That's an interesting draw. That does... Because we can't really swing in because of the anchorage. You don't have the health to survive that block. We could just try the hard cast technique. I think that's where we're at now, though. I think we're heavy into the try to get the alt win con to work territory. La-dee-da-dee-da. Do-si-do-si-do. 3 steps ahead, alright. Now they gotta be on guard about that. At this point, tiny robots are still gas because we can give a robot that we generate haste and put arsenal on it. We did not find one. So it is time to start trying to get the health on the robots up. Part of the problem with maps is that they get to see your next card like you do, but it was a land, so I don't mind them seeing it then. Let's plunk. Actually, let's duplicate this. I didn't realize that was an option last turn. So that means you can just have more and more of these. It increases your artifact count and increases the danger a lot, especially if you're flooding out. That's interesting. The problem here is they surely have much more removal. But also, I don't have a way to give something that doesn't already have evasion in this deck. Unless I get a coat, and I can put a coat on it, which is rather slow. But that's also a 2 of. Wan Shi Tong. 4, 6, so 7. That's 7 damage flying. And they have 2 2/3s. They can get 11 damage in this next turn. Going the aggressive route. Okay, so they have rip. We don't really have the haste out here. Yeah. I think in a world where we draw a little better here, they're under a lot more stress. But let's go ahead and get out of here. No, let's see one more card. Let's see what our next card would have been. But at this point, yeah, you're definitely done for. But let's see them play it out. Anchorage, right? Oh, so they want to keep something back. So that means either something in that hand is interaction, or they want to at least show that it might be. And there's a fugitive droid. So like the pieces are there, like for targeted removal and whatnot. Droid is great to have in play, but like we could make yet another arsenal, and there's like a multiplicative so it just would, you can add 5, and I'm liking the spirit. I'm liking the idea. I'm even in that loss, I'm a little bit more sold on the deck idea. My choices, maybe I should have been a little bit greedier on the mulligan, but in that matchup, I think you still need to get lucky anyways. It's like there's matchups where you need to know that you're on the back foot no matter what, and you need to get lucky and accept that you need to get lucky and play towards your lucky outs in those matchups. And if you do that, you can win. And the other side of that is your opponent is not always going to draw the best against your deck, so you can depend on that too. So you got to play the games to find that out, all right? So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're having a great day or evening, no matter when you watch this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Those are 3 great options that are free that you can use to support the channel, see us grow. As we get bigger, I think I want to start, I do have a Discord that is kind of defunct that I could reapply and reopen for like discussion on certain deck ideas. Maybe you can submit a concept or a deck that you want built around, and I can build those for a video, or any other games you want to see me play. The next thing I'm going to play is going to be Slay the Spire 2. I recently unlocked the last character on Slay the Spire 1 and got me interested in buying the second one, so I grabbed it. So that'll be the next one. So, but yeah, let me know in the comments anything you'd like to see. Thank you. Later.